Hi, my name is Angel, and I graduated from Princeton University, and I'm still figuring out what I want to do with my life.
Angel, all your friends or most of your friends had jobs after college. How did that feel? How are you dealing with that?
So at first I didn't really have much thoughts about it. I was like, oh, congratulations, and I was super happy for them. But then when I graduated and I realized that I was no longer going to be as busy as I used to, especially as someone who likes keeping myself busy, feeling that sudden imminence of everyone else knows what they're doing except for me was kind of really daunting. And I think what made it more daunting for me personally was because I think up until that point, I was always perceived, and I also perceived myself as like the responsible one, the one who always has everything together, who, even if I may not know what I'm doing, I have that like innate sense of stability that seems to be like reliable, and I can figure my way out of most things. This is the first time that I'm like, oh, I don't even know where to begin. I don't know how this whole work life goes. I don't know much about myself personally, let alone professionally. So seeing all of my other friends and peers just be, not only have something lined up, but just be so certain in what it is that they like and what it is that they're good at and what it is that they know that they can do professionally was definitely, I was in awe at first, obviously, and I still am in awe, but then it's also just like, how did they find the time to figure that all out? Like up until a couple weeks ago, I was still writing my thesis. What do you mean all these people have like a job for the next 3 months? So I think just feeling like we all have the same amount of time, but it was the first time that I felt like I was using that time irresponsibly. All your other friends have jobs, and your family members, they all have jobs too. Everyone is, making their way towards something. So not following that same inertia was definitely unfamiliar and not necessarily scary, but just unnerving. It was something that I was very impatient to like resolve. I still wish that I had, a stable income, even though the 9-to-5 sounds still pretty daunting. Having that sense of stability is still really attractive to me. I also don't feel like I've figured it all out yet. Getting into Princeton was that first chance for me to really dive into my true interest. 1 being people and 2 being culture. A lot of my work, whether it be, my JP or my thesis that I did or other classes that I took, it was all driven by learning more about different cultures, learning more about different people. I've spent all this time focusing on different cultures, different people, understanding everything around me, but I think a kind of unexpected byproduct with that is like I don't really know much about myself. I had all these things that I was interested in, but I didn't know how to transform them into something tangible that I could do long term. So when I graduated, I had this mindset of like, you don't have to be 100% ready to like get a job and stuff like this. However, when I graduated, I wasn't even at like 50%. And like for me, for someone who really relies on having like a foundation and something stable that I can have confidence in before I jump into something, that was like not a good state at all. I think the first few weeks after graduation were pretty rough, especially considering how all my other close friends had something lined up, whether it be a job or a fellowship program or going straight into grad school. So I think coming out of college, a place where I kind of was able to explore all these different things and had all these resources, and then coming back home to a place that honestly in the past 4 years I hadn't been at very much, and the me 4 years ago was so different from the me now. So having those types of disconnect and that collision with my past and my current present, but then having an uncertain future was definitely mentally and emotionally, it was a lot. even though I knew physically that I needed to be at home and rest, the things that I thought were going to work aren't working. So then where do I go now? And how do I sell myself and show people that what I have to offer is something useful, something relevant, something that is marketable, that can be useful to, the workforce. It's really hard to do that on your own and figure out how to not lie, but still embellish yourself enough to kind of make yourself attractive to other people. So I think, doing that by myself was really hard. And I kind of just, in a way, I kind of deflected and ran away from it because I just dove into upskilling courses, whether it's, learning how to use different software or doing project management courses. I kind of just, instead of having to interact with people or having to continuously sell myself, I'm like, let me just find these tangible things, like these certifications that I can kind of use to speak for me. But I think at some point it kind of just became another way of just avoiding the problem, and not having to focus on, being this perfect, attractive candidate for the workforce.
You mentioned wanting to learn the secret to people. What are some of those secrets that you've learned or haven't learned yet that you think you're still searching for?
I think growing up, I didn't really have many resources around me. I think after my parents separated, it was my mom taking care of 6 kids. So she became the mom and the head of the house. And, working full time, she was always outside. So I think my life really got narrowed down to church, school, and home. And because of that, my social space was very small. And there wasn't really much to explore. So I think because I was always at home or I was at church with people that I meet, it's the same people that you meet weekly. School, relatively, was the only interesting thing in my life. It was the thing that I knew wouldn't be the same day to day. Every year I'd meet different people. So I think I kind of, in terms of improving my social skills, I guess, I really dove into the school environment. And I think because it was, I guess in my brain, the only opportunity that I had, both, academically and building friendships, which is really important when you're a teenager or in your 20s, I really kind of positioned myself as the listener. I was the overachiever, but I was also very quiet. So I think that quietness kind of translated into people finding me very comfortable and easy to talk to. Having that kind of attitude when I entered a space is what allowed people to kind of open up. And then once they opened up, it kind of felt like me learning more about them was kind of had the same correlation of how comfortable they were with me. And I really liked that. I liked connecting with people. I liked, like I said earlier, broadening my horizons socially and learning more about a broader world around me.
You talk about how you show up for others. Earlier, you also talked about being an introvert and but also wanting attention. Who shows up for Angel?
I guess I would say my family, actually. I had a lot of things that I wanted to get out of college. And I think because of that, I really just immersed myself in campus, or the orange bubble, as Princeton calls it. And because of that, I kind of intentionally, kind of not intentionally, put my family on the back burner a lot. I wasn't that good at communicating, and I was really just focused on the now on campus with my friends. But I think after graduation and then spending my first birthday in a long time at home, I was really surprised by the lengths that my family went to celebrate my birthday, not just, buying the cake and stuff, but giving me a lot of presents, way more than I even expected, and just it was really overwhelming. I realized that like I spent a lot of my time in college like serving other people, and I was always in the mindset of, you know, if I can make my life, if I can make other people's life it's easier, if I can, you know, be that reliable friend, be that reliable leader, and make other people happy, that I would be happy too. But I think dedicating so much of my energy to other people really kind of like not only made me neglect myself and neglect what I needed, but it also made me forget my family. And I feel like some people say that like love and respect among family members is unconditional and it's like a natural thing, but I don't think that's true. I think those are things that you earn and cultivate and put effort into. And I think that birthday kind of made me realize that like I have been ignoring a source of like support and love that I had really taken for granted and kind of ignored. That was like a big revelation that I had. And like my family has always shown up for me. They've always like done little things like taking me to like my orchestra concerts in high school, or you know, taking me to the doctor when I wasn't feeling well, or allowing me to, you know, not go to certain places if I'm not feeling well physically or mentally, and just making sure that I'm okay, or just like doing small things for me to make me happy. And I realized that like I was doing all of those things for my friends and other people back at college, but I never really returned the favor or paid it forward back to my family. I spent so much time exploring all these other places outside of my house that I kind of forgot the good things that my house could offer me and my family could offer me. So, yeah, it was definitely something that I did not expect to like be like hit so hard in that moment. But it definitely gave me what I needed, especially like during this time where like I don't have a steady job. Like I've never been so like uncertain and unresourceful now than in the past. So it's like being in this state of a lot of like instability, having that unconditional love and support come, and like realizing and actually really feel it was something that I didn't know how much I needed. I think a lot of the feeling of being misunderstood stems from, I think it stems from previous, I guess, reputation or previous image that I held to other people, and just being so responsible and being so structured and being so focused. And then all of a sudden, not telling anyone anything, not telling them what plans I have ahead, sometimes because I don't have any plans, and just being in this state of ing is just it's foreign to me. And I think because I kind of put up the front to others that I am this responsible, driven, focused person, it kind of threw off a lot of the people around me. I don't like being misunderstood in the sense of like, I'm not doing anything just because there's nothing tangible that I can show you right now. I feel like I just have a lot of expectations for myself. And I think in the past, I've had so many good things happen to me and so many valuable opportunities that I know that I can do more. And I know that I have the potential to do more. Like I have a track record to back me up on that. But the fact that right now it seems like those things that I thought were big opportunities or things that would be really instrumental towards my future aren't having the effect that I thought that they would. And it feels like instead of it portraying me as someone who's very capable, it's kind of portrayed me as someone who is kind of all over the place and dabbles into all these different things and ultimately doesn't really know what they want. When in reality, it was more just like, I really like exploring. I don't like having to succumb to just one mold. I like being multifaceted. I like being diverse. I mean, those are the things that I studied. I studied culture. I studied different people. I like these different aspects of life. And it feels like the things that I'm passionate about and the things that I'm interested in just aren't, quote unquote, in vogue right now. So it's kind of put me in this place of, do I just have to wait until my type of person is desired in the workforce? Or do I have to, or am I just not formulating or structuring myself, or like I said earlier, selling myself in the right way for me to integrate myself into this space? So I think that mismatch, whether it's real or not, is kind of leaving me wandering. And it's like, for what sake were all of these past experiences? Like, how do I use these experiences as a way to move forward? How do I create this next step? And I think that's something that I frustratingly still have not found the answer to. It's kind of where I always find myself at a stalemate. It's like, I want to reward myself for the things that I've done. I want to give myself a break here and there, and, allow myself to let these experiences really sink in and help inform on what type of person that I want to be and what type of person that I am right now. But I always have this like ticking time bomb in the back of my head of like, you gotta keep moving. You gotta do something. You gotta find something conventional that will work. You need to find something stable. So I think it's just always these desires that kind of, I feel like, maybe not society at large, but just my conception of society, there are these desires and things that I want to have that just seems like it's irresponsible to want or unreasonable to want. But at the same time, like, why not? Like, why not? So I think it's just either finding some sort of middle ground or finding a way to mesh those two together that I'm still kind of working out. So I think that's kind of where I get that sense of loss feeling. Sometimes I kind of just sit with it and accept it and just embrace it. Other times I'm actively trying to fight against it. Today I'm kind of neutral, but I think that's definitely kind of the core circle of thought that I've been in these days, leaning into, hyping myself up and giving myself a pat on the back versus seeing all the shortcomings and all the things that I could have done that could have created a more stable or more certain future for me. So I think it's just those two things constantly going back and forth.